Welcome back. First we'll dive into valuation chart to see what the market is really pricing in, and then we'll break down the biggest risks and the most realistic upside catalysts. Now let's focus purely on valuation using this EPS-based fair value chart, and I'll break it down across past, present, and future, because Mohawk is a textbook housing cycle and renovation cycle stock. When the cycle is strong, the market pays up. When housing slows, the multiple compresses fast, even if the business is still profitable. Starting with the past, this chart shows exactly how sentiment can overshoot. You can see periods where the stock traded far above the normal value line. That's when investors were pricing in strong demand, operating leverage, and peak margins. The past success was real. In strong housing years, Mohawk's earnings power expands and the stock gets re-rated upward. But the past mistake is also obvious. When the cycle turns, EPS and confidence fall together, and the market doesn't just lower the price, it lowers the multiple too. That's why Mohawk can go from cheap to cheaper during down cycles. Now the present, and what's happening around the price today. The stock is currently sitting well below its recent highs, trading around the high $120s area and still meaningfully under its 52-week high. That tells you the market is still treating this as a soft demand environment. In Mohawk's latest commentary, management basically said conditions remain competitive, home renovation is still soft, and they're responding with price increases and supply chain optimization, while also managing tariff impacts. So the price action makes sense. Investors see stabilization, but they're not ready to pay a peak multiple until volumes clearly recover. Now the fundamentals beneath the chart. For full year 2025, Mohawk reported EPS around $5.93, adjusted EPS around $8.96, and free cash flow about $621 million, with net debt to adjusted EBITDA around 0.9x. So the balance sheet looks relatively controlled for a cyclical business. That matters for valuation, because it reduces the financial stress risk during a slow housing period. Now the future, the estimate zone on the right. This is where the valuation debate lives. If EPS recovers as housing and remodeling normalize, the normal value line rises and the stock can re-rate upward. But if the recovery is slow, or price competition offsets cost improvements, then the fair value path is too optimistic and the stock stays range-bound. Management has framed 2026 as more of a transition period where productivity, mix, and modest demand recovery can help, but the real inflection still depends on residential activity improving. Mohawk isn't priced like a growth stock, it's priced like a cyclical recovery option. The upside comes from EPS normalization plus a higher multiple. The downside is that the cycle stays soft and the market refuses to re-rate until the demand backdrop becomes clearer. Let's go straight into the risks for Mohawk, because this is a highly cyclical business, and in 2026 the biggest question is not whether Mohawk can survive, but whether demand recovers fast enough to restore earnings power and justify a higher valuation. The biggest risk is housing and renovation demand staying weak. Flooring is a classic big-ticket category. People postpone it when interest rates are high and consumer confidence is soft. If remodeling activity remains sluggish and new housing stays pressured, Mohawk's volumes can stay under strain for longer than investors expect. Closely connected is pricing pressure and competitive discounting. In a weak demand environment, competitors fight for share, retailers demand promotions, and pricing becomes the battleground. Even small price declines can materially hit margins because the category is sensitive to mix, and because some costs don't flex down quickly. That leads to a major structural risk: operating leverage downside. Mohawk has a meaningful fixed cost base: manufacturing, logistics, and overhead. When volumes drop, unit costs rise due to lower plant utilization. So earnings can fall faster than revenue, and that's why down cycles feel so painful in this stock. Another risk is execution. The company often responds to slow demand with productivity programs, plant optimization, and cost reductions. But execution is hard. Savings may take time, disruptions can occur, and if management cuts too aggressively, service levels or product availability can suffer. There's also channel inventory risk. Retailers and distributors can destock during slow periods, which amplifies the volume decline beyond true end demand. Even if the consumer backdrop stabilizes, the channel can still work through inventory and delay orders. On the macro side, watch tariffs and supply chain disruption. Flooring involves global sourcing and logistics, and changes in trade policy or shipping costs can reintroduce cost pressure quickly. Finally, don't ignore valuation risk. Even if earnings stabilize, the market may refuse to re-rate the stock until there's clear proof that housing and remodeling are improving. In cyclical names, multiple expansion usually comes late, after the recovery is obvious. Mohawk's risks in 2026 are mainly about a longer housing slowdown combined with pricing pressure and operating leverage. If volumes don't recover, margins stay under pressure, and the market can keep the stock cheap for longer than people expect. Now let's flip to the opportunity side for Mohawk, because in cyclical businesses, the upside often comes from two things happening at once: demand normalizing and operating leverage kicking in. In the short term, the biggest opportunity is a housing turnover rebound. Flooring demand is closely tied to existing home sales and remodeling. If interest rates come down and housing activity stabilizes, you often see a delayed but meaningful pickup in renovations. Mohawk doesn't need a boom, it just needs volumes to stop falling and start improving. Once volumes recover, earnings can rise faster than revenue because fixed costs get absorbed across more units. Second, there's upside from pricing and mix stabilization. In weak markets, the industry gets promotional. But if promotions ease, or if Mohawk can maintain price discipline while improving product mix, average selling prices can stabilize. Even small improvements here matter because flooring margins are highly sensitive to price/mix. Third is cost savings and productivity. Mohawk has levers in plant utilization, automation, logistics efficiency, and procurement. If management executes well, you can get a margin lift even before demand fully rebounds. That's important because it creates self-help upside that doesn't rely entirely on macro. Another short-term tailwind could be input cost relief. Energy, resins, freight, and packaging have been volatile in recent years. If those costs normalize, and Mohawk doesn't have to give back all the benefit through pricing, gross margin can expand. And don't ignore working capital. In down cycles, companies build or carry higher inventory. When inventory normalizes and the channel restocks after a destock cycle, cash flow can improve sharply. That can support buybacks and improve investor confidence even before the full earnings recovery shows up. Now longer term, the core opportunity is the replacement cycle. Floors wear out. The housing stock ages. Even if new construction is choppy, replacement demand tends to come back, and that creates a recurring base for the industry. Long-term upside also comes from premiumization and mix shift, especially into categories like higher-end LVT, premium tile, and differentiated designs where consumers are willing to pay more. If Mohawk keeps innovating and improves mix, it can structurally raise profitability over time. There's also a structural opportunity in efficiency and automation. If Mohawk uses the cycle to upgrade manufacturing and simplify operations, margins in the next upcycle can be better than the last one. Finally, stronger free cash flow over time creates capital allocation upside, buybacks, deleveraging, and selective bolt-on M&A, which can compound shareholder returns. Mohawk's upside is a classic cyclical recovery framework. Volumes rebound, pricing stabilizes, operating leverage returns, and self-help cost actions turn that into outsized EPS and cash flow. Now let's look at the analyst rating, because it's a quick snapshot of how Wall Street is positioned right now. For Mohawk, the breakdown is 1 strong buy, 5 buys, 10 holds, and 0 sells or strong sells. So sentiment is cautiously positive, but clearly not high conviction. The absence of any sells is important. It suggests analysts don't see Mohawk as fundamentally broken. Most expect the company to navigate the cycle and eventually benefit when housing and renovation demand improves. But the fact that hold is the largest bucket tells you what's holding conviction back. Visibility. Flooring is cyclical, and analysts are not fully confident about the timing of the demand recovery, how promotional the market stays, and when volumes will improve enough to drive operating leverage. The buys and the 1 strong buy reflect the upside case. If housing turnover rebounds and costs normalize, Mohawk's earnings can recover quickly, and the stock can re-rate as the cycle turns. So the takeaway is, Mohawk is viewed as a recovery option with solid fundamentals, but the street is waiting for clearer signs that the housing cycle is actually turning before getting more aggressive. If this breakdown helped you, please hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your support really helps me make more of these analysis videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.